I have copied over, and I have. So that's good. One of the things that I wanted to mention is she was quite a photojournalist. Everywhere she went, she took her camera. She took Loren too, but she took her camera. Anyway, they went to national parks, and they always sat for the ranger talks. She just thrived on new information, anything she could learn. So anyway, with scrapbooking, she put the photos in a scrapbook and had comments about it. Well, her photojournalism expanded probably within the last 15 years when she had time to meet with my mom, who was historian for some of the memories that we had, and had photos from 6 generations ago. And so Gayle put a history together of every branch on my dad's side and every branch on mom's side, and with the photos and the commentary, we had 56 pages in an album full of these memories that Gayle made. I think first for Karen, she may have had the idea. Next thing I know, Gayle is passing out 2, one to Karen and one to me. And she said, I think she made one for herself. I don't know. But anyway, she really worked hard on those. And so she was quite a photojournalist and very proud of her. Everything she did, her interior decorating, her cooking, her teaching, her interest in family, she just put her all into it. So we will lose her.
Janet Dill Stowell, and I am Loren's sister. Some sisters enter your life by virtue of being born into your family. Others become sisters through marriage, and that was the case with Gayle. And right from the beginning of married life, Gayle worked hard to become part of the Dill family, alternating holiday dinners with the Giffords and attending the Dill family reunions in Pennsylvania. Gayle was one of the most self-disciplined and highly organized people I have ever known. I hear some agreement there. She was also immensely creative, and I was a grateful recipient of some of her creations. She made a maternity dress for me. She's a skillful seamstress, as been mentioned, and she whipped up a skirt when I told her that my daughter needed a chorale uniform. Gayle was there, and she made the skirt. I just admired her sewing ability so much. She was a phenomenal teacher and a librarian in her professional life. But I think the role she loved better than being an educator was being a mother. I remember asking her sometime after Nicholas, her first son, was born, Gayle, what do you like the most about being a mother? And she had a one-word answer: Nicholas. The Gayle I knew was an incredibly patient person. I can remember one time, however, when she was reaching her limit. My husband and I were driving our car with preschooler Nathan in the back seat, in his car seat behind us, and along the way, we heard a high-pitched little voice suddenly say out of the blue, "Mickey Mouse's underpants!" We couldn't help laughing. And Nathan continued to regale us with this phrase and his giggles until we reached our destination. When I told Gayle about it, she said, and probably with a roll of her eyes and a sigh, Please don't encourage him. Somehow I think she'd heard that same phrase many times before.
Do you want these pickles?
Yet the same mother prepared the same little boy a jelly and cheese sandwich, I think I have that right, maybe, to eat at Thanksgiving dinners because turkey dressing and mashed potatoes just didn't appeal to him. Gayle was a giving and a caring person. When Dad Dill died suddenly, she took care of Mom, who had recently been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. It was not an easy situation. Mom eventually needed nursing home care, and Gayle decorated her room so she would have something beautiful to look at. And it was Gayle who sat with her at the end, because as she told me later, she didn't want Mom to have to die alone. When my husband passed away a few years ago, it was Gayle who figuratively held my hand through that difficult time by carrying on a supportive email correspondence with me as I navigated my way to a new and different life as a single woman. Gayle believed in the power of prayer, and she was a praying mother and grandmother. And although Gayle no longer lives on this earth, her prayers for her 2 boys and their wives, as well as her 5 beautiful grandchildren, live on. My heart is broken as I stand here today. Gayle was not just my sister-in-law. She was my sister, my confidant, my dear friend. And because we shared a common faith in Jesus Christ as our resurrected Savior and coming King, I can be confident that someday I will see her again, because Gayle is not gone. She has just gone ahead.
I didn't fill out one of those little memory cards, but I'm just going to say a couple of things now, since I didn't fill it out. I've done that on my jacket. I was sitting here thinking, they were talking about going to camping, someone with us when we were little, and I was thinking, in 1974, Loren's dad, my Uncle Ermel, and my cousin, took my Aunt Teresa, Loren's parents, took myself and my cousin Steve on this annual family reunion camping trip. And I remember it was 1974, and I got to thinking, as Janet may have been talking, that about 35 years later, I'm living in Texas now, and I was trying to get myself back to these things. I reached out to Loren and said, hey, any chance we could collaborate on this reunion thing? So I flew into Cleveland, and Loren and Gayle picked me up, and I had a lovely evening in their home. And we drove to the camp site together, and we separated for a few days, and then at the end we got back in the car and I drove back to Cleveland with them and spent another night at their house. And I was pulling up the street to come here, and I saw the lake. I remembered walking with him and Gayle. He took me for a walk over there by the lake and bought me an ice cream cone. You know, I was probably 40 years old, but it's still good to get someone to buy you an ice cream cone. And I was just sharing with Nathan until the memories started coming through the microphone of a time when I passed through, and I asked Gayle and Loren about this all the time, and they don't remember, but Nathan seems to have some little recollection because he's only met me once or twice. And worked for the airlines, and I remember staying here at the Holiday Inn near the Hard Rock. It was even still here. And they came and picked me up, and it was Sunday, and I believe it was Easter Sunday. And I probably came to this church and worshiped with them, went over to their house for a fine meal, and, you know, just a blessing to know. And as I sit here and I see so many of my cousins out here, and we don't ever have the time to visit like we want to, because we only have, you know, this finite amount of time together. But I just feel like every time we look each other in the eye and we shake hands and we embrace, it's just an unspoken thing going on with our family, that we love each other. And we're blessed to have Gayle, blessed to have Loren. They've been good to me, and I just wanted to just share that little bit of a memory. I didn't know Gayle overly well, but lovely lady, lovely family. And I'm blessed to have a good family that thinks that getting together is important. So it's a blessing to know. God bless everybody.
Up to the mic, or bring the microphone down.
Okay, you can tell. I am Gayle's oldest sister, 12 years older than she is, wanting to know why I am still here and she is not. I just wanted to share this. All of you have described what I know about her. The first, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years of her life, I was so busy making money for college. I was babysitting, I was working at various places, saving my money. I was just involved in what teenagers are involved in. I would babysit occasionally for Gayle, and sometimes Mom would pay me, and that's probably why I did it, if she would pay me for doing it. Arlene was the blessing, the younger one who loved to play dolls while I was out climbing trees, and so Gayle really had a wonderful opportunity at home. However, I just wanted to say, you all have mentioned her organization, doing a million things, looking out for everybody else. Creativity. This is a creative book, Creative Memories, that she put together for Arlene and I, and we hope there's one buried in the home somewhere that she made for herself. It occurred after I was the first daughter in the family diagnosed with cancer. I had 2 cancers, Arlene had 2 cancers, and then blood cancer hit Gayle. But it was in 2007, and she was working full-time. She was doing all these things at church and the community, and yet she had time to grieve for the diagnosis that I had. They were very active cancer cells in my breast, and I had very active chemotherapy and radiation, and she just told me after she did this book, this was her way of dealing with the sadness and the fear. She was afraid for me that I wasn't going to survive this. So she made Sisters for Life, Best Friends Forever. And so we each have a copy, and pictures with comments that she just put together for us, and then gave it to us the next Christmas. And it just reminded me again that she was putting family before other things, and she was also saying, you don't have to feel sad. You don't have, yes, grieving is appropriate, but don't sit around and worry and fret and make up situations that might not happen. That's what she was doing with her mind when she realized a wiser, healthier thing to do was to do something for somebody else that would last. And she enjoyed doing it, and so it was just a blessing for us to continue to look at these photos and remember a wonderful baby sister. I'm sorry, I was not very good when she was little. However, our relationship over the years just grew, and I have to say that it was her faith and prayers that were very significant, in addition to her gifts of other things, but they've been a blessing to me. So now, if someone younger will please take the stage.
I'll just talk a little bit. The first time I met Gayle was when Karen had brought me home from down in Ithaca and Cornell. And I got there, and here is this little girl who was about 9 or 10, and we kind of, it was just one of those things where I always got a kick out of when I was going home that little Gayle was going to be around. And so anyway, I guess some of the things, one of them was that I always enjoyed doing things with her too, if I got a chance. And so when Loren and Gayle had gone to over to Europe, about a week later they came back and they were going to Gayle was going to be going to the Congressional Library for a session where she had been honored to be able to do that for a week. So she stayed at our house. So I said to her, do you want me to take you downtown? And she said, no, absolutely. And I said, well, how about if I take you at least down to the subway and you can get on the train there and go down to where the Congressional is, or the library is. So anyway, every day I would take her down so she could catch the 7:30 train, and then at night I would go down and pick her up. And on Thursday night, all of a sudden there was a thunderstorm came through, and it really did some damage around. And when she got there, I said, we got to run. So she got in the car, and I said, if we, we're going to take the back way out of the parking lot here. And I said, I hope we can get home, because there's trees down and stuff like that. And we got on a little ways back there, and there was a tree all the way across the road. And I said, hang on. So we went right off to the kind of on the edge, and around the end of the tree, and headed home. And so then we made it home. But anyway, there were just things that I really enjoyed doing, and I enjoyed her life. She was just really a super person.
We are all colleagues of Gayle from Fairview schools, and it's actually really nice tying these stories together and hearing from things that you guys have to say, because we've heard other sides of it. So it's really actually kind of funny. We've seen some of the books and things she's put together. She shared the stories of going to her class at the Library of Congress. So it's really nice to hear the other parts of those stories.
And boys, we've heard the stories about you
Lots
too.
of stories about boys and the grandchildren too. And it's funny because Gayle was a mentor. She was a mom to us in many ways, a friend, of course, and we commiserated about a lot of things, good and bad. I mean, we've all had heartache with her, and she was there for us in many ways with that, and would sit silently just to be there with us. And for me, I can say I appreciated it more than anything. But we also commiserated with laughs about things, like perhaps our husband's piles of magazines that were similar. Sorry, Loren. But she would tell me about the piles that you would have in your living room. And I said, oh, what funny, because I have those same kind of piles. Not mine, of course. And how it drove us crazy. So it was just, it's delightful to hear other things about her that we knew as well. So.
Ditto everything Janice said, and one thing, my son is in his 20s, so maybe about 10 years or so younger than you guys, and all the times that I would be pulling my hair out or going, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, she's like, I understand. And she would tell me all the stories of going to look at colleges and how much you guys loved Cincinnati. And I remember when my son looked at Cincinnati, I came back and she was like, so, you like Cincinnati? I'm like, he did, but he ended up going to Ohio State. But she was the person I could go to and say, please give me advice. What's your suggestion? Because I know you guys turned out so well. And it's such a credit to both your mom and dad, as you even said. So I just want to thank her for all of that. And last part, we shared so many things with Gayle and went through so many things. When my dad passed, she wrote me the most beautiful letter. And I still have it today, and I read it last night, and it still gives me comfort. And I just want to thank you for sharing her with us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and we want the fudge recipe, by the way. Whoever has it.
Yeah.
My son is, my son goes to Cincinnati. He loves it there. I could kill him right now, but he loves it there. She would be totally sympathetic for that. But he, when you guys moved to Cincinnati, she made me promise to put your phone number in his phone, so if he needed a mom, he could call her at any time. She was so sorry. I'm the emotional one, can you tell? But she was so sweet. She was, she was so excited when he got into Cincinnati, and it was like the craziest time for us, but she was still there for him as a mom would. So it was awesome. She was the loveliest woman I think I've ever met.
I owe a lot of, my accolades in my teaching career to Gayle. I was hired a while ago. My first assignment, though, was with Gayle teaching 7th grade language arts. We co-taught. She would do the reading part. I did the writing part. My first memories, though, is she's the first person I met when I got there. And she walked me around and introduced me to every teacher. The thing that stood out, though, is she knew everything about that, from their husband's name, their kids' names, and everything. She's someone that just genuinely cared about everyone that she worked with. I remember when I was house hunting, I put in many offers. I think I went through 2.5 years looking for a house, and she would always check in. And then when I finally got my house, she was probably more ecstatic than I was, and I was very ecstatic. So just one of the most caring and genuine people that I've ever met, and made a huge impact, not only my career, but my life. So.
One last thing, we would like to, as a group, get the fudge recipe, please. Because she would bring it to school all the time, and it was delicious.
Get the contact.
I'm Lauren's cousin, and I always really look forward to seeing Gayle at the reunion every year. It's lovely to visit, and she would show up to the reunion with her beautiful tray of little flowers made out of vegetables and cream cheese thing. And I'd be scrambling around, trying desperately to get my chicken curry together. And then Gayle would be there, ready, full of cucumber, helping me do swimming cans or stir the pot or whatever. And I never felt like she was being judgy about my scatteredness or whatever. She just was really sweet and kind. And I remember in particular one year, my daughter Jennifer was a little baby, and she was screaming, basically, one of those moments where, and it was just the moment I was trying to get the food ready. And so Gayle said, well, let me take her. So she took her, and all of a sudden, I realized half an hour had passed, and no sign of Jennifer, no sign of Gayle, but I didn't hear anything, so I figured, everything's fine. And she came up again and said, wow, you really quieted it down, that's great. And she said, no, I just went far enough away so you wouldn't hear her, because that would be too stressful. And I think that was sort of, showed she was thinking about me, thinking about, what was the best thing at the moment. I could trust her implicitly, take good care of my daughter. So she was lovely.
Gayle and I had something that we shared, which was we both married into the Dill family. The size of it, which is amazing. And I didn't know her super well, but mostly saw her at reunions, at family reunions, and that's gone on for, well, I've been going for probably about 40, 45 years. But the thing that impressed me the most, and it was coming to me today, was the word constancy. And I feel Gayle was very constant, and especially when I think about something that Loren wrote in some of the emails going up in the last few weeks. And one of the things he said was, I will miss the little tender, quiet exchanges that we made all day with each other. And I thought, constancy, she was always.
Hey, I'm Mike Dill, and I think I might be like a first cousin once removed in-law. I'm not sure how to say this, so maybe I've just been saying Aunt Gayle because I think that's more endearing. And I just wanted to share, I guess, there was a time, so I kind of got to know Gayle more through the reunions at Parker Dam. And there was a period in my life where God started to call me into ministry in a way that I was really scared to go, and so I like plummeted down into anxiety and depression. And I don't mean to make this a story about myself, but when you're down there psychologically, it's a huge contrast to feel peace again, to feel happy again, to feel like you want to get up and spend the day. And I remember you guys I was driving through Ohio and we shared a meal on your back porch in your old house here in Cleveland. And Gayle brought out this amazing dish, and the flowers were blooming and everything. And so you can count on one hand, I guess I can in those periods in my life where you felt peace again, you felt healed, you felt okay. And for some reason, just being at your house was one of those. I had a few other memories I could share, but I wanted to share this one because there was a funny moment where I was discussing my anxiety over what God was calling me to, and if I was going to say yes, and just everything I was going through. And I looked to Loren and Gayle, and I said something to the effect that Loren kind of sat back in his chair, and he looked over at Gayle and he said, "Did you hear that, Gayle? He thinks we've made it. Like he thinks we've made it financially or something." And the reason for that is because the peace I just felt in that place, that just her faith and your love, it really just created this pocket of peace and love. And I really believe Gayle's in a place now where there are no anxieties, there are no tears, which have been wiped away. And so I think Gayle's made it. She really has made it. And I look forward to all of us journeying in faith to that place one day this year again. So thanks for letting me share.
Introduce me to her. Encourage me.
I met Gayle at Geneseo. We went to college together. I don't know, it was probably 1972, fall 1972 and that. And she was such a friendly and nice person. I just so enjoyed being with her. And later on, I don't know if it was at the end of college or that, but anyway, this fellow here invited me to come to his church, I don't know what you call it, activity, young adult thing. And I talked to Gayle about it. I said, "Did you know this Loren, or not Loren, Dennis, not Dennis the Menace either. Did you know him?" And she said, "Yes, oh, he's good, yes. So that was the beginning of our time together. And we went dating and eventually became married. Was she in the wedding? I know I was one of these weddings. Yeah, so, anyway, did you?
I think I had Gayle fooled when she talked about me, but anyway, I remember I grew up at Dennisburg, by the way, probably 3 miles from the Giffords, and so we were back in the heyday of 4-H clubs, which was in the 60s, and so the Gifford gang was quite a team to be aligned with, and that we had a 4-H club, the Orangeport Rangers, and they were quite a force. The Gifford girls, because I can remember at the fair you'd bring in projects and things you'd worked on. Of course, Gayle's mom and dad were very active in teaching us kids and stuff, so that's where Gayle got a lot of those skills in that. But to this day, I can still picture all these dresses just hanging. They'd be a wall that long with just dresses, and the bulk of them for the Giffords and that. But Jan didn't mention when you go into college, she and Gayle were together with, I don't know how many other girls in an apartment.
Oh, yes.
Shared apartment with one bathroom. And you can imagine getting ready for school and activities. And she was also the one that you were unsure of where to go. It was come up on a Sunday, and she says, well, I don't know where to go to church exactly around here.
And I had grown up in a Methodist church, and it's only, on the other, I think it was down
It was farther away.
Yeah, farther away. And Gayle and our friend Cheryl said, well, why don't you come with us? We're going to go up to the Baptist church up in, and boy, that was the best choice that ever came to me, because then I got to know this fellow through afterwards, back at home. Yeah. And the pastor at our church, Hoover, I checked with Pastor Moran, the pastor at that church, when we wanted to get married and were getting engaged, and we were asking them if he'd marry us and that, and he checked that just to double check. So Gayle had a significant impact on her, and we've been married now, what, 40-some years? 42 years now. So she was a good voice to listen to, and I hope you enjoyed her too.
I'm Carolyn Thomas. I worked with Gayle at the county library. It was such a pleasure to know her. I can't begin to tell you the joy that so many children had being in her little story times that she'd have. I shouldn't say little, they were really big because a lot of the kids loved coming. But it was just wonderful to see the looks on their faces when they would go there and hear those special times with her. She read to them. And then they'd bring all the books that she helped pick out up to the counter, excited that they got to take them home. It was wonderful to be with Gayle on breaks and lunches. She just put a smile in every day that I shared with her. And I miss her, but I am looking forward to seeing her soon again when we're all with him. Thank you.
I'm John. I'm one of the Dills who saw Gayle every year at the Union. And as I'm sitting here listening to all the stories, all about the same woman I knew, I think about the impact that she had, the personality that she had. You know, we live in a world where it seems like the most blustering people always get the stage, but they don't have the kind of impact and reach that this woman had. I really don't think so. And I just want to tell one story, because I just know there's so many. First off, Loren, my mom sends her love. There are so many. My siblings wish they were here, and you know how all that is. I've spoken to most of them about it. And this is just a story. Just one of the many that you'll sound familiar to all of them. My daughter told me this last weekend, last Sunday. And Sarah barely knew Gayle. It's my daughter. She's 30-something now. She'd be here, but she just had a kid. And it happened that 15 years ago or so, Loren and Gayle were going to Arcadia National Park, and they stayed at our house for a day or so on the way there. And Gayle and Sarah started up a little of a interchange there, and she said, and I didn't even know this, they were corresponding for a bit there, and as will be no surprise to some, I guess, Gayle started pushing Sarah certain books that she thought Sarah would enjoy. And Sarah, being probably 14 or 15, was like, well, what would this older woman know about what I enjoy? She was telling me this story just a few days ago. And she found out way too late that what Gayle was saying that Sarah might like is it was a series of books called The Hunger Games. And she's like, whoa, you know, I really missed out on some. I was late to that party because, and that's what Sarah was saying to me. I think as I've sat here listening to the story, some of the thing that comes to mind is I always enjoyed getting my kids in touch with people that I respected, that could really touch them. That's an important thing to do when you're bringing kids up, because you can't really always influence them yourself. They don't listen to you the way you'd like them to. Get them in touch with people like Gayle. And I know that I was amazed at that touch. And you just heard from my son, Mike. That's a powerful thing. The powerful people in the world are people like Gayle. And I thank God for them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Day. I am the eldest nephew. I grew up just down the street from Miriam and Jesse Gifford, where Gayle grew up. I remember some of my fondest memories were during the summer months, where she and Uncle Loren would come up to the house, spend a few weeks. We played baseball in the backyard. Mike and Kevin probably remember that. Nick and Nathan weren't quite around yet, but we had a great time playing baseball in the backyard, swimming in the pool. I remember one time when we were shucking peas on the back patio, and Aunt Gayle would give me a little bit of good-natured ribbing because her pot was more full than mine, because I was popping it in my mouth as fast as I was shucking it. So, one of my other fond memories was always Christmas time, when the family would gather together, and we would, on New Year's Eve, we would all go bowling. And before going bowling, we'd all have grilled cheese sandwiches, Nestle's Quick, and then go bowling for the evening and see who could stay up the latest. So there's a couple of fond memories there that I'll treasure forever. So I'll miss her a lot.
Do I need to be seated for this?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, my name is Norm Day. I'm married to Arlene, the middle sister. And I was beginning to wonder in 1965 if it would happen. I came home from college for my sister's graduation at Roy Hart, and I was standing in the back at the graduation service, and I looked over and I saw Arlene. I said, my goodness, she looks really, really pretty good. And we went through high school together and never knew each other existed, really. And so I went home and I thought about it, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to call the house and see if I can get a date with her. Well, I called the house and I got the 11-year-old on the phone. And I said, is Arlene there? And she said, nope. Blink. And I tried this a few hours later. Arlene there? Nope. Tried for a couple of days and finally got through to Miriam, and I told her that I would like to stop by and see Arlene, but she's going to be home for the weekend. And she says, yes, I'm going to go to Geneseo and pick her up. And she said to Arlene, you better bring home some clothes, decent, because you have somebody who wants to see you. And that was the start of a romance and a marriage in 1967. We've been married 56 years. And my very first year of teaching in 1967, we got married in August, and I walked into my classroom for my first teaching assignment, and there sat Loren and Gayle Dill in my classroom. So it's been a wonderful time. I treasure Gayle. She's very special, and